opening statement, just really want to say thank you to our fans that traveled and showed up in mass. I think we sold over 6,000 tickets, about as many as we could get our hands on, and it was definitely almost had a bowl game feel to it, as loud as our fans were, and that was to be complimented. Really proud of the effort and energy that our guys played with, our defense especially. That was a team that was, through their 11-game win streak, they were averaging 234 yards rushing, and a game at 5.66 a carry, and we held them to 71 yards rushing on 1.9 yards per carry. So really, really tremendous effort. I think there is anybody that's been watching Texas football, for the last few years, and even the first game of this season, I would hope that you guys saw a much improved energy, passion, enthusiasm. Although it was a much less marquee of a game, we actually played that way against San Jose State too. I think just people figure because we overmatched them that we kind of cruised through that game. But our guys the last 2 weeks have shown up to play, and they've played really, really hard. And again, we got to figure out what we're doing on offense. We can't, 2 Power 5 opponents. Both games, we've scored 0 offensive points in the first half of both of those games. So that's something that we need to address this off week. And then, we're still making a few critical mistakes, especially in the secondary, and critical times that we've got to correct, because we know what to do. We've practiced it 1,000 times, and it's not showing up. But so I think, to sum up, I think I was trying to figure out what I'm going to tell the team. I hadn't talked to them yet, and won't until tomorrow. This is their mandatory day off. But I think you can compartmentalize losing and the disdain for losing and the awfulness that it is, but still glean some very, very positive things from how we played and the intensity and effort level that we played with. And if we train like we did the week leading up to USC, and we play like we did during that game and into 2 overtimes, if we can do that each and every week, we're going to be okay. And so, as much as losing hurts, again, if we use this as a lesson, if the Maryland game was a lesson in how not to play, this was definitely a lesson in how to play, and we just have to continue to improve our fundamentals and technique. But that energy and effort is what we need each and every week. Questions?
Tom, I want to start with Chris Warren. There has to be a specific reason why you guys are not using a 1,000-yard rusher. Why is that?
I don't understand the question. Not using. He had, how many carries did he have against San Jose State? So we're
talking about USC. But he had 4 carries against USC.
For 3.8 yards per carry. So I think it's difficult to. We got to find a way to get him more yards, but in the middle of a game, when you see how that is shaking out, the definition of insanity is repeatedly performing the same act, expecting different results. And so to keep going back to 3.8 yards per carry, I think there would be some criticism there too Tom, why did you give Chris Warren the ball 20 times if he only had 70 yards? You know, so I mean, you're either damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you've got to, we've got to do a better job as coaches of finding ways to get him those yards. But when he's not getting those yards, it doesn't make much sense to keep going back to the well.
I guess what I don't understand is, like in double overtime, 2 quarterback run plays was better than ramming a 250-pound guy up the middle against a weakened defense.
Where were they weakened?
Up the middle, after playing 60 minutes. I mean, surely USC would have worn down a little bit.
I didn't see that.
Okay.
And yeah, Sam made 9 yards. So we hadn't had a running back make over 5 yards up until that point. So 9 yards inside the 15-yard line is a pretty good run.
On your right, Dennis.
Coach, after the game, you didn't really waver too much on Buechele being your guy. After watching film, any possibility of that changing at all? And how much did Sam's learning curve accelerate in that game?
A lot. I mean, you know, he wasn't playing really good early in that game. That was very evident. So he grew up a lot and you know, kind of put us on. I mean, 91-yard drive in the Coliseum against the number 4 team in the country to take the lead with 39 seconds left. That's with 2 fourth-down conversions, I think, on the drive. I think that's some grown-up football right there. But your Shane question, yeah, when we start practice tomorrow, Shane will get the majority of the reps with the ones. Sam will still get reps with the ones, and be business as usual. If Shane is 100% and having great practices, then Shane will start. But I'm not going to tell you Shane's going to start Iowa State game when we're 10 days away from it right now.
There front, Kurt.
Tom, what's the update on Connor Williams' prognosis going forward? And what's the desperation level with the offensive line depth?
Desperation levels all-time high. And Connor will have surgery to repair his meniscus. Didn't tear any ligaments, sprained MCL and PCL. And, you know, timetable, we'll know a lot more after the surgery in terms of timetable for return. And we have 5 guys right now. 5 we feel good about putting in a game. So we've got 10 days to get that number up to hopefully at least 7. And I think hopefully we'll get Terrell Cooney back from that ankle injury, so that will help us inside to provide some depth in the interior. But at tackle, we're going to need a guy like JP or Derek Kerstetter to accelerate their growth here in the next 10 days.
Is there a minimum time Connor's out?
No. I mean, I don't know if there is one.
There front, Bob.
Coach, over the last 3 years, one of the biggest issues this team's had when they played well is consistently doing it over a long stretch. Why do you think they can be consistent, and what's your approach in trying to, you know, get them to stay consistent?
Well, the approach is that we lost a football game that was winnable, and if we think that there's any sort of complacency involved after losing, that's I don't know if that has been the case here before, but it'll never be the case on our watch. To be complacent after losing, that doesn't make much sense to me. But and complacency, period, whether you're winning or losing, is an awful thing for a team. And so you remind them that the perfect game has never been played yet, and that if we are in constant if we are driven constantly to try to chase that perfect game and perfect preparation, then there's no room for complacency. So, and I really think, you know, you never want to lose, ever. But for the future of this program, our 2 losses might be some huge lessons. One, obviously, I really do believe that our kids had a huge wake-up call and eye-opening realization after the first game. And again, I'll tell you that, I mean, we played really, really hard against San Jose too. I think that gets lost a little bit. But also playing the number 4 team in the country into double overtime in their stadium, I think also is a huge eye-opener that, hey, if we do this each and every week, we got a chance to be pretty good. How can you not, right? I mean, it almost seems foreign to me.
Stay up front, Setter.
Tom, how do you make sure these guys aren't just playing to the competition? That's a big-time game with a national focus, and not as many people are going to be as jacked up for Iowa State, and that's very dangerous because they've beaten people out there before on Thursday nights.
I was part of it. It was Friday night, but yeah. I think, again, I think some of you guys sound like you got PTSD or something. You guys are like, I don't. What you're saying to me is so foreign. So I don't know. I mean, we're gonna coach the way that we coach, and they're gonna understand the way that they understand that. There's no room for, I mean, get up, down. I mean, they were all there against Maryland 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. So if they don't think that's possible each and every week, regardless of competition, a lot of them were in Lawrence, Kansas last year too. So I don't know. Then we need to recruit smarter players if that's the case.
Back middle, Steve.
Coach, tough stuff with the offensive line. I mean, I know it's down to 5 guys, but it seems like they sure played better in the second half as that unit, those 5 guys, got together and got used to each other. The second question, is this really the best time to have an open week based on what you saw?
Without a doubt. We're tired. What a lot of people don't realize is with a 5-week training camp and then 3 weeks of the season, you're basically at the halfway mark. And so, yeah, we've played football for 8 weeks, get a break, and then we'll play for 9 weeks. So it is very welcome at this point in time, and gives us hopefully a little extra time to give some of those younger offensive linemen, crash courses in the offense, and at least be serviceable if called upon.
Tom, the defensive growth, do you put it on learning Todd's system, being more comfortable, effort, all the above? Where do you pinpoint it, the way these guys are starting to play?
Yeah, the Maryland game. I mean, they couldn't have watched that and said that that's okay, and they didn't. And for the last 2 weeks, I mean, they played like a real big boy defense, and they've cut it loose. They played aggressive. Well, it wasn't learning. They know the defense. They knew it week 1. It was learning what playing championship level defense looks like from an effort and intensity standpoint, and they have done a fantastic job of that the last couple of weeks. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't impressed. We still too many coverage busts. We got a few of those that we still need correcting, but effort and intensity on that side of the ball is not an issue right now.
On your right, Anwar.
Piggybacking off that defensive question, when you went back and look at the film and you see how Malik played, Wheeler, Manihue, Puna, all those guys, you go to them and say, hey, you play like this every single week, this team has a chance to win just about every game on their schedule.
Not just about. We got a chance, to win every game on the schedule. But again, we're all kind of saying the same thing over and over again. Yes, we will tell them that. We have told them that, and we will continue to tell them that level of defensive effort and intensity will keep us in every game that we play from here on out.
Coach, Malik Jefferson seemed to be all over the field on Saturday. What adjustments has he made since opening week against Maryland?
It's been fun to watch these last couple weeks, huh? He's playing a lot more confident. He's trusting the defense. He's not evaluating. He's not thinking. He's not doing anything other than sticking his foot in the ground and going. And when he does that, he's really good. And he should continue to do that and even better.
Tom, you ran a lot of power, a lot of counter. You had 2 tights against San Jose State, and then didn't see a bunch of that against USC. And you know, I don't want to get into the insanity thing, but is that the best way to run, even when you have deficiency at tackle, when you're pulling guards and trying to overload one side? And was there a reason why you didn't go with that as much against USC?
Didn't feel like the tight end matchup was very good for us. You know, to jog 2 of them out there, one of them being a true freshman against that defense. Heading into the game, in terms of a game plan, did not think that was a great matchup for us.
Coach, Reggie Hemp on Maps is rapidly becoming the most entertaining punt returner in the country. What was going on with Reggie after the one mistake? That he just didn't get the message on the second when he fielded on the 1-yard line?
That was the mistake, right? What was?
Well, but when he fielded inside, I think you said put your foot on the 8 or the 9. He fielded 2 punts inside near their own or the end zone and twice on punt returns. Was he just not getting the message? Just a youthful?
No, yeah. I mean, this third college football game. I didn't see an issue with the one that he caught like on the 6. I mean, sometimes your heels are on the 8, and I mean the ball's coming right at you, and it depends on where they spot it. The one that's bouncing around and he takes it on the freaking half-inch line. That's I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask him what was going through his head.
You're right. He's an exciting guy. And I like
yeah,
him.
that's certainly, you know, not what we coach. And again, everything goes back to coaching. And as much as we rep fielding punts inside the 10-yard line or inside the 15-yard line, it's obviously not habit yet enough. And so the only thing I know to do is we believe in the way that we coach. We just got to coach it more, obviously, until it becomes habit.
Coach, Colin Johnson's coming off the 4th greatest receiving day in school history, yardage-wise. What impresses you the most about him?
His ball skills are really, really good for a guy that size. He's got to do a much better job getting off press coverage. That's going to be a big point of emphasis this week because we need him to. You know, the team should fear pressing a 6'6", 215-pound wide receiver with his kind of ball skills, and they don't yet because I think they feel like they can keep him on the line of scrimmage and neutralize him that way. But really good body control and ball skills for a guy his size. That would be the biggest thing that I take away in terms of his unique skill set.
Tom, you mentioned Derek Kerstetter on the call this morning, and then again here, I know pulling a shirt off of a kid is not ideal, but kind of 2 questions. 1, what have you seen from Derek through camp and then through these first couple weeks of the season? And then 2, how do you handle that situation where it's looked like a kid might redshirt and then all of a sudden, because of sudden depth issues, you have to tell him, hey, we might need you to play?
Oh, that part's never an issue. Kids want to play. So that's never an issue. And if you're worth your salt as a teammate, you want to help your team win too. So that part's not an issue. And what we've seen in him is a really, really tough guy that is probably a little bit more athletic than I thought when we signed him. And he's a guy that for a true freshman he really understands football. So we need him to hurry up and develop.
Yeah, Tom, what's your satisfaction level with your offensive coordinator, Tim Beck, and Coach Wareheim in the offensive line right now?
I don't know. It's,
Are you happy with play calling?
yes. Can we get better? Sure. But satisfaction level, 2 coaches that I hired 9 months ago is very, very good. We got to get better as coaches. But there's nothing to tell me that that we can't or won't. It's an interesting question.
On the right, piggybacking on the quarterback draw.
It was quarterback power.
Okay.
Yeah. Who's that? Hey.
I got to follow that up.
Sure.
You guys are, 1-2 in non-conference, but the conference schedule starts obviously in another week. Do you kind of big picture goal in and say, okay, guys, let's kind of hunker in and let's try to go ahead out and win this conference and see what we can still do? There's still goals that can be achieved, or are you still going to take the same old, hey, it's just one game at a time?
I think both. I think our mantra is 1-0, and that's never going to change. And we're 0-0 on this week with an opportunity to go 1-0 next week against Iowa State. That being said, when you look at big picture goals, which we don't set very many of them, and I think maybe the only one that I ever even said publicly and certainly to our team was we want to compete for the Big 12 championship in the month of November. And nowhere did we ever say one of our big picture goals is to beat Maryland or to beat USC or to go 3-0 in non-conference. We don't have big picture goals like that. The only big picture goal we have is in relationship to the conference title.
Now that Shane appears to be healthier, what is Gerard's role moving forward? Will he stay in the quarterback room, or is he going back to receiver?
We hadn't talked about it yet, so I think it'd be too early for me to say anything. I think his package will decrease in terms of volume, number of plays, because you're not going to need him to get you out of a game, too. I mean, we were preparing him to be kind of a wildcat quarterback, and if Sam, sprained his ankle, he would have to go in and run the offense, too. So that was difficult to put all of that on his plate over the course of the last couple of weeks. So I think, one, it'll shrink for good reason, but who he practices with, we haven't really talked about it yet.
After coming up short Saturday night, what did you do for the next 8 hours, starting after the game?
I didn't sleep on the plane. I'm trying to remember. Watched SportsCenter, watched college football final on the plane, and I think they replayed the Mississippi State LSU game. Played a little Angry Birds on my phone. Ate a sandwich. And then got to the car here, drove home, and fell asleep around 7 in the morning yesterday.
No tears?
No tears. There was some primal screams, one in the shower and one when I got home.
Brian? Interesting.
He asked.
I knew you'd give me a good answer.
I just want to circle back to this to be clear. Everything that you have said is you want to be a power running team. You want to establish the run.
Mm-hmm.
And for Chris and Kyle to get 9 carries total in a tight game, you're okay with that? That puts more pressure on a freshman quarterback.
Oh, no. I never said I was okay with it.
Okay.
No. Never said I was okay with it.
I'm asking
No, not okay with that.
Okay.
But I do think throughout the course of the game, you've got to do what you're doing well. You can't fix that kind of problem, I don't think, in the middle of a game.
That's what I'm asking.
That problem needs to get fixed this week and next week in practice, and we've already, spent very little time watching the USC game. We spent a lot of time talking about how we're going to run the football better.
Coach, Coach Brown used to always talk about the most important part of the game is the end of the first half, start of the second half. I mean, you guys really took a belly blow at the end of the first half, but came back so strong in the first series of the second half. Does that really show the maturity of this team, the will of this team to win?
Yeah, I think so. It was. We didn't feel that. I mean, obviously, 7 points is 7 points. But we kind of knew the flukiness of that play, and it didn't discourage any of our confidence level at halftime. And so, but I do think it was important for the offense to go out and march down the field and kick a field goal and kind of prove to everybody, hey, we can actually move the ball on offense and score some points in this, so that when it got later, I think we had that confidence on offense.
Tom, is Armani an example of a guy that if you don't like where you are on the depth chart to start, do something about it, and kind of what has he done? It looks like his toughness level is really high the way you've used him this year.
He's practicing better. I don't have any other way to say it. He was third on our depth chart because he was a really bad practice player. And I'm not telling you anything I haven't told him. And he's bought in to the necessity of great practices and has had them these last few weeks. And the football gods usually reward people that practice really well. And obviously, I say that sarcastically because there are no football gods. He's rewarded on Saturdays because of how hard he has practiced and how well he's practiced. So I'm really excited for him to embrace that role, and hopefully he'll continue to do that.
Last one in the back, Anthony.
Coach, I couldn't make it out there on Saturday, so I had to watch it on TV, but a lot of cutaways of you on the sideline and your gum. You're blowing bubbles, it's splatting on your face, you're chewing it like a champ. How many pieces of gum do you have in your mouth? What kind of gum is it? You rotating it often? And thanks, Coach.
You are by far my favorite, man. It is sugar-free Double Bubble. It is the individually packaged ones, and I put 7 in my pocket to the start of each half. I make sure there's 7 in my pocket. And, yeah, I think it's just a kind of a, I don't want to say nervous habit, but obviously, I mean, there's something to that. And, the intensity level during a game is pretty high, and that's something that at least I can kind of unwind a little bit by chewing some gum. Yeah. Thanks, guys.